data is going to become more and more and more important. And I think we as consumers are going to become more and more protected by data. Because data is incredibly powerful, and I think, data analysts are going to no longer, I think there will be specialists, I mean the really good ones will still be highly specialized, but organizations are going to rely on data mining to be able to deliver the products and services they want to their customers. I mean, we're all on Facebook and we all are the products because our data is basically us, and that's what they're using to target us with advertising, etc. So it's our data which is constantly being mined to give us the product and services. And an example of this is target. So it doesn't matter, you don't have to be identified. They just, they don't want to know that it's Alex Gray from shopping in Pick n Pay. All they want to know is it's me, I am the same person that's buying milk and toothpaste and loo-roll, and that it's the same person who bought the same items a month before and a month before. So that they can give me a coupon when I next walk into the store for 2% milk, because they know that I buy 2% milk in a 1-litre jar, and I buy dump-fried and roll in a 4-pack or whatever. So they want the data so that they can customize products and services to you as a consumer, but they don't even need to know my name. They just need to know my shopping patterns and habits. And Target is really good at this. And there was an article a while ago. Target, I think, has 20 or 30 data analysts, and they start putting correlations together. So there was a case in the US where a man from Target and was really irate with them because they were sending his daughter all this stuff for newborn babies and pregnancy, and she was like, what are you doing? It's for my teenage daughter. Like, we don't want baby clothes, we don't want anything. Target knew that she was pregnant before her father did, because she was buying things like multivitamins, and she was buying sexual organic things. And they know that right in the beginning, when a woman is pregnant, and they know they're pregnant, before they tell anyone, they start doing things like the biofolic acid and things. And you start taking vitamins and times and all these little things that add up together to having time codes for your pregnancy. You're getting a baby like a diet special right now. You might not need it now, but we know in 9 months' time you're going to buy. And it's up and around, and shops want all your information because they want to report major life changes, because people's habits change when major life changes happen. So when someone has a baby, their whole life changes. So they don't browse around the shops and look for the best deal and take their time. They have very limited time. They go to Target, they buy apples, they buy milk, they buy vitamins, they buy dinner for everyone, and they buy baby groceries. And it's around this, when people get divorced, when people get married, when people retire, these major life changes. And so people want this kind of information, and they're giving it to them. Pick n Pay, smart shopper card. How many of you have Pick n Pay smart shopper cards? They launched it because they had no way of gathering data at Pick n Pay. But now they do. And this other kind of, the next kind of trend I want to talk about is this around kind of this content analytics and personalized methods and advances in kind of pharmaceuticals. So how do you cost of being able to sequence the human genome? In a couple of years, I'm going to all have genomes sequenced. Our children's genomes will probably be sequenced when they're playing with their iPad, and the doctors waiting rooms, for a couple of thousand rands. So we will be able to map out the entire genome. People will be able to have medicine made specifically for them and tailored for their body type. So it's all these kind of changes in personalization and nanotechnology. How do we tap into those kind of trends? And then also the Internet of Things. Everything will be connected. So things are starting to speak to one another. And there are more things accessing the internet than there are people. And that happened in 2008. Okay. So our alarm clock will speak to our coffee machine, which will speak to the car, which will speak to the driving route, which will access information about an accident, which will make sure that you send an email or an SMS to say that you'll be late for your meeting. So this Internet of Things and how interconnectivity and how we will start having to tell people what to do and our things what to do. How many of you have used if this, then that? If this, then that? Yes, okay. So basically it's a rule-based engine. So if I post to Facebook, could you please also post to Twitter and update my notes instead? If it is going to rain in Cape Town, please send me an SMS in the morning, 7 o'clock, so I know. So if this, then that. So if this happens, or if you can access this piece of data, can you do that automatically for me? You put in all your information, you link all your accounts. And that's just kind of very, very rudimentary basic. How do we get different systems to talk intelligently to one another, and how can we customize them for our lives? So that I go out and find a very, very, very data. And then very briefly, I'm going to talk about the ARC Alpha. So we looked at ARC Alpha, and it's this piece of technology. You can see the unit on the left-hand side. And what it is, it's a wall-mounted unit, and it's got inside, it's got a few electronics, and it's got an ozone generator. We're not using fancy new technology to generate ozone. We're using tried and tested technology, the standard ozone generator. But the problem with ozone generation is that we either produce a lot of ozone gas, and it then goes into the atmosphere, and it's really not very healthy to breathe in ozone gas, and it doesn't really do anything because the gas just dissipates and it doesn't go on the surface and it doesn't clean anything. Or you can bubble ozone through water, and you get really, really clean water, but just washing your fruit and vegetables with really, really clean water, you're actually not getting any of the ozone action on any of the fresh produce. And ozone is a very, very powerful, it's got free radicals and it's a very powerful disinfecting agent. And it literally breaks down into oxygen and water. So it's, it's very unstable, but as soon as it destabilizes, the byproducts are oxygen and water, which are great. So the technology here is a special nozzle design, which takes a water stream from a tap, it nebulizes the water, combines it with ozone gas, so you almost have these water droplets which are coated with ozone gas. Water droplets then spray onto the surface or onto a product, and this product is then sanitized. So that was the kind of technology, and now we needed to see, well, does it really tap into the key trends that are happening, and how can we look at trend data to actually back up why this would be a good investment? So this is kind of the fresh project. Value chain, your fruit, veg, whatever, fish, or pork, it's kind of shipped, it's graded, partially packaged, eventually it arrives to kind of a hotel kitchen or a retail space. And this is really where your end consumer actually interacts with the retailer or with with the canteen or the person who's actually preparing the food, and the exchange and the most value is created and you pay for that food there and there. So that was the initial focus area for ARC Alpha technology. And this was because of trends, but also because this is the one area where we could really show that it made economic sense to use this technology. Because if you've got food waste in a restaurant, you throw the food in the bin. As a consumer, you get irritated when you bought a pack of mushrooms 2 days ago and they already are completely slimy, whereas if you take one random one and went to a different retailer, the mushrooms would have lasted in fresh for a week. So that's where you can see the direct economic impact. So we really tapped into this massive, growing international trend. People want to have fresh fruits and vegetables. People don't want to have processed food. People want eat more fruit and vegetables. And this is kind of backed up by a whole lot of other sub-trends. So aging populations, for instance, are another trend. So people are more health conscious because they're aging, they want to eat fresher produce, they want to eat more fruit and vegetables. Okay. People are choosing healthier food over traditional fast food. So they're no longer choosing hamburgers and chips, they want apples instead. So McDonald's is selling apple wedges in like 7 packets. They'll probably last for 5 years. People are becoming more aware of the fact that they want nutritional information. They're becoming aware about what they're eating. They want to eat stuff that's good for them. People are becoming more aware about things like childhood obesity. So that's another trend. So this is all driving the overall kind of global thing. People want to eat more fruit and vegetables. The other massive trends, like in the US, Michelle Obama has declared a war on food deserts. And the food desert is an area in the US where it actually costs anybody to go and even access fresh produce. And I don't think they really exist, but then I went to Kentucky and they do exist. I drove past the food desert truck. They're like, oh, this is one of Michelle Obama's newfangled food desert trucks. And I'm like, oh my God, fresh produce, because they really live off stuff that shouldn't even be considered food, and it's quite frightening. People eat out more often because it's this confluence of they live an urban lifestyle, they want convenience, they want access to fast food, but they want much fresher, more healthy options. So it's kind of all these trends kind of fit together. And then there's also a massive trend where you've got the rise of superbugs and bacteria, and people are actually now dying from fresh produce that has not been properly sanitized. So, for instance, last year in Germany, a whole lot of people died from unwashed alfalfa sprouts, even though they blamed it on Spanish cucumbers initially. And then from all these trends, it's also very important to then start backing it up with hardcore data. So this is a trend that we've seen over the years. So, that obesity rates will rise in every major market. All the indicators are there. So, then there's this whole thing about fast casual, which is a niche, like subsector of restaurants, where you can sit down or you can eat takeout, but it's normally around on healthy food. So Kauai, Nando's, those are all fast casual restaurant chains. So, which also tap into this whole healthier, fresher food movement. So, you then need to look at the actual hardcore data to back up all these trends. And then things like value for money. People are much more cost conscious. They want quality produce, which they're prepared to pay a little bit more for. Not only on the consumer side, but also on the retailer side. They're prepared to pay a little bit more for food that won't go, which won't cost them anything. So, and then it's also this kind of confluence again, which I spoke about earlier, about urban lifestyle, people who have, they have two people who normally work in a family unit. They tend to spend more money on eating out, but they still want value for money, they still want fresh produce, they often have young children. And in emerging markets, they are actually much more health and fresh conscious than necessarily fast food conscious. And then also tapping into this entire green sustainable kind of notion as well. So not only does ARC Africa clean fresh produce provide fresh produce without destroying the nature of the produce. So for instance, you can't heat treats less because you'll have flush. So, because of the constraints of the market, you need to make sure that you've got the right technology. So we can still clean organic carrots and they'll still be organic afterwards. You can't put organic carrots in a big truck or chlorine water and say they're organic and they're covered in chlorine afterwards. But at the same time, you've got to provide a produce that's fresh and being sanitized to your market. So it taps into this whole chemical-free, green, much less water, and that's kind of why all these different elements of these trends we pull together with the African study. And so in conclusion, yeah, I'd say that trends are great, but you could almost, it's kind of a tricky thing. I think you should try and back trends with evidence, and you shouldn't just necessarily say, well, because this is a trend, obviously I'm going to make all these assumptions. So try and be a little bit objective about this. Timing there is key, so a notion of tipping point of trends versus kind of a completely overcrowded market. I think you need to be able to, I've spoken a lot of general stuff and just across a whole lot of different aspects. But when you look at your business or your product or service, you need to investigate the trends for your specific business or your specific product. So what trend am I really tapping into? What trends are the industry going through? What trends are my customers kind of tapping into and going through? What trends is this current market / territory going through? So, how is legislation changing? How is, I don't know, for instance, if you're going to tap into a customer in South Africa in the lower end of working that doesn't have a lot of disposable income, for instance, the increase in petrol price would have a massive impact on that consumer. That would be a trend. So, you need to be quite specific about what you're going to focus on. And then I'd also say that domain knowledge is very important. So if you're not from the industry you're going into, or if you want to develop products or services for another industry, make sure you really understand that industry, because that will give you a lot of insights to the trends and factors that are affecting that market. And if you don't have that insight, go and find an industry expert to test your assumptions and your trends on.